first of all, Neil, your reaction to CM Punk's championship win on Monday.
Okay, it was very Super Cena era stuff for me. And I say this as somebody, like, we discussed this last week after SmackDown, that I felt that Adam Pearce's booking was borderline heel stuff. This is a guy whose own champions on his own show, Roman and Liv, have not been made to defend their titles since they won them at WrestleMania. And for him to make Sammy defend on the show he doesn't belong to after only 9 days of winning it felt kind of like a shitty move. You can't really argue with it, though. Having seen Raw, the reception this guy got, the star power he undoubtedly has. He got that similar reaction tonight as we're about to get into because he kicks off the show. You know, if you're in business to make money and sell tickets and put the biggest matches that you can, put your titles on the biggest figures that you've got, then I can see, you know, what they did.
Yes. I'm with you. I like, from a business perspective, you get it. I guess, like, seeing some of the reaction online to this move, you know, I guess you asked, should every decision be made according to business, according to who is best, right? Isn't that what CM Punk was arguing against all those years back? I still continue to find that to be really fascinating, that the guy who used to be arguing against moves like this is now in the position of being, well, like the Hogan or the John Cena, like, as you know, comparison point that's been made. So I was curious tonight to see if they would play on that at all, if they would, like, fan any sort of flames of, like, CM Punk possibly being a new, more of a corporate heel version of himself. And I guess maybe it depends. Well, let's talk about the show, shall we? Nick Aldis opens the show, and the crowd is already chanting CM Punk after a video recap plays. So just it gives you a sense that maybe this sort of sentiment about, like, people being against CM Punk as champion, that might be a vocal minority. So anyway, so the crowd is chanting CM Punk. Aldis apologizes for his behavior, Aldis's behavior, and he tells us that he's been reinstated. And CM Punk then appears. He is sporting a black eye. Aldis says, "Welcome aboard to SmackDown," and he gives him the floor. Punk says, "I missed you. And in the time I've been away, I've been negotiating with WWE, NBC, Universal, and the USA Network to come to SmackDown. And the negotiations just happened to be expedited on Monday when a title opportunity fell out of the sky." And he says, when title opportunities fall out of the sky, CM Punk catches them. Of course, referencing the promo he cut the night after WrestleMania 42. Yeah. He intends on wrestling on TV and defending the title any chance he gets. And he knows there's a locker room of hungry and individuals who want what he has. So if you have what it takes, come and get it. And he addresses a few people in particular. He talks about Sami Zayn. He says, "I saw what you said on social media. I'll give you that rematch." He talks about Gunther. He says, "We're not strangers. I know I can beat you, so come get a shot." Brings up Finn Balor. Says, "We wrestled twice, and you can have this shot anytime, any place." Also brings up Royce Keys, Damian Priest, Trick Williams, and before he can name any more, he is cut off by Cody Rhodes, who comes in. He's coming in and he's checking on Punk's shiner. He asks how his eye is, but Punk says, "You know, it looks worse than it feels, but what do you really want to talk about?" Cody says the last time they spoke in the ring, this situation was reversed with with Cody having the title and the black eye. He references Punk's line about title opportunities falling out of the sky, but says some matches have been building for years. Punk says he always knew the two of them would face each other sometime, but probably almost didn't want to mention it because he didn't want it to come between their friendship. And he says if he's honest, he thought it would be a WrestleMania main event, but they don't know if they can avoid this anymore. So Cody says when he was the champ, he told Punk, "Just say when." And Punk steps up and just says, "When?" Cody says SummerSlam, and Nick Aldis, right then and there, makes it official. The main event of SummerSlam, Cody Rhodes versus WWE Champion CM Punk. Your thoughts overall on the segment and also the match itself?
Yeah, well, I enjoyed the way Punk used his star power and, you know, the adoring crowd to try and put over the fact that he's now on SmackDown and he's trying to elevate a few names that he was throwing out there. If you're looking for some corporate Punk stuff, he gave you a little bit of it here with the sort of negotiations with the allusion to negotiations with NBC, Universal, and WWE, and you know the list that brings him to SmackDown on the USA Network. It was a good promo between the two of them. They got there very quickly, it felt to me. You know, just straight away, it's official. This is the main event of SummerSlam. Even after Punk saying he wants to defend the title on television and, you know, if you want it, come get it sort of thing. This felt a little to me like I thought there would be a detour at Saturday night's main event. We learn later on these guys are going to be involved in that show, but in a different way. I think they wanted to get this title match, the graphic up there straight away, because for viewers of Pollock and Thurston, SummerSlam tickets haven't exactly been flying off the shelves, and it feels like this is one of the biggest matches they can do. And so, yeah, they're
22,000
right away.
22,000 for the Saturday show, according to WrestleTix, in a stadium that can hold up to like 67,000.
Yeah.
So yeah, like similar to Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay, perhaps, you know, facilitating an earlier title change just so they could get that graphic up there to announce the main event for Wembley. Maybe a similar case here where, you know, announcing the main event for SummerSlam hopefully will, for them, drive a few more ticket sales. But even on top of that, I would imagine a few more sales to come in both of these cases. Yeah. I thought the segment was like good and simple. And yes, it rushes the match out there, but I think it does so in a pretty logically satisfying way. Like when you consider Cody was attacked and should have had this title shot anyway. So in like putting all those pieces together to make you feel like Cody is justified in getting the spot, especially like, you know, bringing up the initial interaction these two had back in, you know, after WrestleMania. Yeah. I found all of that very satisfying. Now, as far as like, you know, were there any sort of like hints of like heel Punk? I certainly felt none of it here, you know, not in front of this adoring audience who wanted to cheer CM Punk and certainly didn't seem to feel bad about Sami Zayn at all. Doesn't perhaps like negate the fact that there are a lot of unhappy people online. And, you know, those are people that might see both of these two men, Cody and CM Punk, as somewhat corporate representatives at this point. And those are the same people who probably want to see somebody fresh in the role, like a Sami Zayn. Yeah. So there's like, this is a match that I could see bothering some people who were hoping for fresher direction, not just with the same Roman, Cody, or Punk, you know, up top. But I also think that's not the majority of people that will be watching SummerSlam, especially a show like SummerSlam, which is a lot more like WrestleMania to me, where you're appealing to people that aren't just like in the weeds and want to see like, you know, a new guy. They kind of want to see the most famous guy, in my opinion. I think it's the right match for SummerSlam.
I think so too. In if you're in WWE and you're charting your directions, I think this is a very logical way to go. And I think what you're talking about, I mean, strikes home to me because I'm one of the people who didn't love, as I already have talked about, the 9-day reign for Sami, because I just think I love the character work that he's been doing. He isn't, as we get to, he's not even on this show tonight, except for a clip. And there's a difference, I suppose, and we got it from this crowd. There's a difference between the mainstream audience and I guess the online audience, or those of us who analyze these shows and kind of, you know, are like you said, a little bit more in the weeds of it all.
Yes. All right. So I also really enjoyed, by the way, Punk lining out all his future opponents. You know, it built anticipation for all those matches, whether or not they happened for the championship. You know, hearing CM Punk mention of Royce Keys, I think means something a lot more. You know, and I have no doubt, like, you know, just given maybe their AEW history, Punk may have initially, like, I'm sure he wants that match with Royce Keys, and hopefully that'll be a strong showcase for him.
It's July on the Post Wrestling Cafe, and that means our extensive G1 coverage begins starting July 11th. We're going to have reviews of every single G1 card right up to and including the finals in the middle of August. Plus, Rewind Away takes a look at 2 episodes of Heels. We're also going to be going back to 2005 for a review of WrestleMania 21, and it is the start of our double shot episodes covering this season of Dark Side of the Ring. Plus, we are going to dive into the 3rd season of WWE Unreal. All that and so much more can be yours by signing up to the Post Wrestling Cafe. It gets you XL editions of Rewind to Raw, Dynamite, and Smackdown, Collision Course on a weekly basis, MCU later, and so much more.